You're listening to the Armchair Cricket Podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Armchair Cricket Podcast, a podcast focusing on Test cricket by armchair critics of the game. We are recording this episode on the last day, well, in fact, the fourth day of the second Test match played between India and South Africa, which India happened to win at the end of the fourth day's play, or even before the end of fourth day's play. This Test match was played at Pune. Let me welcome my co-host Ajit, as always, so we can have a chat about it and several other things. I hope. Hi, Ajit. How's it going for you?
Hi, Giri. I'm doing good. Things have been a bit, lackluster, a bit dull, but I'm assuming that's a good thing. Uh, we had a guest, and the guests are now back
Hmm.
from where they came. So, yeah, and now it's back to the mundane for me,
Okay.
work,
Okay.
life, other things, right?
Okay.
So, how about you? How's the hand healing nicely now?
No, no, it's still the same. I guess it needs a bit more time. I need to go back to the doctor and let him have a look. And as
Right,
you know, it
right.
takes a bit of time here. People just don't want to see you, unless it's an emergency. You know how it works here in this country, right?
Well, I mean, it must be just you specifically, but
Knowing me, I think I crave a lot of attention always.
maybe,
This could be
maybe.
one of those things. Anyway,
What is it called? Munchausen syndrome or something. Well, that's a very serious thing to say. It's a joke, right?
uh,
All right.
I hope so.
Well, so do I, right? We'll find out. We'll find out.
Right, right.
So, going on, maybe let's take a quick look at the second test. So today is the day when the second test between India and South Africa ended. So I think it's a right thing to start off our podcast with today.
Hmm.
So, this was a very thorough performance by India. This was a match in Pune where once again India won the toss and elected to bat. And, they piled up 601 for 5 based on Mayank Agarwal's 108. And then Pujara made 58, the Kohli 254. And of course, very good contributions from Rahane. And Jadeja missed out on 100. Not a lot to write home about in South African bowling. And then South Africa were rumbled twice. So first they batted and they made 275 in about 106 overs, and surprisingly Kohli decided to enforce a follow on because they were sort of out at the end of the third day. And on the fourth day they were again all out for 189 with no really not a lot of contributions. So Faf du Plessis made 64 in the first innings, and Philander and Maharaj showed how to bat for their top order, and 44 by Philander not out and Maharaj 72. But it looks like the top order did not learn the lesson. Again, the same two guys showed how to do it in the second innings, Philander making 37 and Maharaj 22. But yeah, Dean Elgar made 48 as well, and Bavuma 38. So, Giri, and of course, Kohli for his magnificent 254 was declared the man of the match. So,
Hmm.
Giri, what are your thoughts? Some nice discussion points here, right?
Yeah. Firstly, about India beginning well, and what I mean about
Hmm.
beginning well is winning the toss. I think toss was a very crucial factor here,
Right.
and if South Africa had won the toss and decided to bat first, it may have looked a bit different because South Africa would then have had the first bite of the cherry. But the crucial part
Hmm.
of the match was how Mayank and Rohit basically started the batting for India. I think they didn't lose a wicket until, like you said, about first 45 minutes, and then Mayank went on to make a big score yet again. So this opening combination seems to be working for India, although Rohit had a bit of a failure, you have to say, after a good start. Pujara
Hmm.
looked very good. Actually, I saw him get out live. He was looking very fluent. He was hitting more boundaries than I saw in his previous innings. I think he had very less runs. I think may have been 9 or 10 runs in 40 deliveries, and then he started accelerating. He even pulled a six off the spinner. I think it was Muthusamy, maybe.
Hmm.
So this was a good start, Indian batting wise, and then of course, Kohli joined Mayank Agarwal and also stitched a partnership with Rahane and also Jadeja towards the end. Kohli looked very, very immaculate. He was fantastic. It was a joy to watch. He didn't take any undue risks. Of course, there were some edges which were missing the slip cordon once or twice, and
Hmm.
Faf du Plessis looked a bit, sheepish whenever a ball went past him, went past the outside edge, and
Right.
then in between the keeper and the lone slip, or to his right. And you have to feel for him because I think they were scoring really heavily at that point in time, and then he couldn't set an attacking field, right? So, and Kohli himself was actually dismissed of the bowling of Muthuswamy. Did you see this live?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I got the second no ball live, but I heard he had bowled another no ball
Oh
in the over
man.
already.
Yeah, I think, and then the delivery following that was also a no ball, but the umpire didn't notice that. Anyway, so
Oh,
he
wow.
bowled a big
Okay.
no ball. There's no doubt in your mind when you see such a big no ball. I think it's way off the line. It almost reminds me of
Mm-hmm.
Mohammad Amir, dare I say? But
Right.
anyway,
Oops. Okay.
and yeah, it went off the edge of Kohli's bat, and it was caught really nicely by Faf du Plessis in the first slip. When Kohli started walking, and the umpire stopped him in his tracks, saying, "Hey, let's check the no ball." And then, well, not surprisingly, it was a no ball. And then they were all joking about it. Kohli, Markram, Faf du Plessis, Quinton de Kock, they were all joking about it because I think Kohli must have said something like, "I gave you a chance, you didn't take it. Don't blame me for scoring a big score," or something like that. And then he went on to score another 50 odd runs. He had
Right.
just then, I think, finished his double century, and then he scored very quickly. The last 50 runs, very, very
Mm-hmm.
fast. And Jadeja also accelerated very well. So I think India were then about 490 odd runs for the loss of 4 wickets. Had Kohli been dismissed at that point in time, maybe India wouldn't have got to 600 as quickly as they did. But then again,
Right.
if you look back in hindsight, everything will look different, right? So, well, coming back to another point about the bowling performance, there was a stark difference in how the South African fast bowlers bowled and how the Indian seamers performed. And there are some stats here. So South African bowlers, combined in the
Mm-hmm.
first and the second innings. Well, they only bowled first innings, right? So if you consider the number of overs they bowled, it was 81 overs, out of which 14 were maidens. They conceded 259 runs, and then they picked up only 3 wickets. I think those 3 wickets were in fact by Rabada,
Right.
the top 3 wickets of the Indian batsmen.
Indeed.
Well, in comparison to that, if you look at the Indian bowlers, they bowled 40 overs in the first innings and 22 overs in the second innings. And if you combine them in the 62 overs that they bowled, 13 were maidens, and they conceded 190 runs while they picked up 10 wickets, right? So half of the South African batting was consumed by the fast bowlers. So what an amazing performance by the Indian fast bowlers, you have to say. And I think Kohli's always been a bowler's captain.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask me, I don't know whether you agree with that or not, but let's come to that in a bit. Because he fielded 3 seamers on this occasion and then 2 spinners, so outright 5 specialist bowlers.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think he probably thinks his batting is so good, or his team's batting as well is so good that they don't need an extra batsman. So unfortunately, for this guy, what's his name, Vihari,
Right.
who had to sit out this match, unfortunately. But apart from that, I think the bowlers did the very good job. The spinners, of course, did come to the party. I think we saw what Ashwin did in the first match. Again, he was very proficient. He picked up I think 3 or 4 wickets in the first innings, and so did Jadeja. So Indian total team effort, backed by that big century from Kohli and Mayank Agarwal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty good
and two
summary.
zero up. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, pretty good summary, I would
Yeah.
say. So, 2-0 up indeed. So, look, when if I were to go back to a couple of things you mentioned at the beginning, what you
Mm.
had right, the way Pujara played, and also the first 45 minutes with what Mayank and Rohit did, you know, this was probably not as Indian a pitch, if I may say, as one could
Mm.
expect. Simply because, yeah, winning a toss was crucial here, but also playing well in the first 1.5 hours of first session was really, really crucial, which I think the Indians did right. If the going into
Mm.
lunch one down was probably a very big victory for them because it was a fairly, even pitch. It was not a very dead pitch what you normally encounter as far as fast bowlers are concerned. There was still a bit of juice in the pitch and something for the fast bowlers throughout the match, even on the fourth day, right? When we saw people like Umesh Yadav and Shami, bending their back and getting a bit out of the pitch. It's, I think, about bowling in the right place on that pitch because, Rabada and Fernand Philander are probably a very good, contrasting example. Rabada fast and Philander with a skill. And Heinrich Norke, whom South Africa brought in for this match, really, really fast, right? I think he pinged Pujara on the helmet, if I'm not wrong, right? So it's about bowling in the right place on this pitch. And the other thing you said was also very important because Pujara played at 40 balls in the first let's say the first 40 balls for just 10 runs. That was very crucial. I think every batsman had to do it, unless you came after probably the 50th over by when the ball was old, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
these were very crucial things. So as important as the toss normally is in India, I would say this is one of those
Mhm.
rare cases where I think the batsmen deserve the credit for setting up the innings. So Mayank and Pujara took their time in the first half day, even up to tea. I think
Yeah.
they were a bit slow, but that doesn't matter at all considering how well India accelerated on after tea on the second day, for example, right?
Yeah.
So they made it up and more. That was very easily done. So here again, look, you don't give somebody of Kohli's caliber a lot of chances. So he will make you pay.
Mm.
So even as Kohli hit out or Kohli was able to keep pace with the run rate, somebody like Rahane, the 59, the very patient 59 that Rahane came up with was very crucial on the other end because he was able to make sure there were no wickets. So, even though he was scoring at probably 35, runs per 100 balls, it was always going to be better than a new batsman having to come in and take in a lot of balls. Even I remember Jadeja taking like probably for his first 15 runs, taking like 60 balls or
Yeah.
so. That is unheard of for somebody like
Yeah.
Jadeja.
Yeah. Yeah.
But even he had to do it simply because this is that sort of a pitch. It's a good pitch where there's something for the faster bowlers. And you saw it very clearly when the Indian bowlers bowled. So I think on the third day, at the end of third day, when Temba Bavuma came to give the press conferences, I think he highlighted that
Mm.
the Indian fast bowlers probably outbowled their South African counterparts, and this pitch was as close to a South African pitch as one could get on the subcontinent, right?
Mm.
I mean, it's such
Mm.
a marked contrast because at the end of last episode or in the last episode, I remember making a prediction that India will probably go in with three spinners. Here you are, they're going in with three fast bowlers. Look, so the curator of the pitch, Mr. Pandurang Salgaonkar, had got a lot of stick previously when he had prepared a terrible, terrible sort of a pitch, if one may call that, where it backfired and India lost. You had highlighted it last time in that only test played in Pune,
Mm.
where Steve O'Keefe took 12 and they really flattened India out, right? This time it's gone to the other end where it's a very stable pitch where even somebody coming from the South African continent is able to clearly say this is a good pitch, right? So that's a credit to the,
Mm.
let's say, the pitch curator. I would say this is one thing. The other thing, of
Mm.
course, I think the South African batsman did not show the application. Don't you think, Ray?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Look at the top order,
Hmm.
how well they did or how badly they performed.
Right.
The Centurion from the previous test
Hmm.
match, Dean Elgar, he was a failure,
Right.
right? He got a start, I think, in the first innings, but he didn't capitalize. Did he get a start? I'm not sure.
Nah, he's just six. I mean, not exactly a start.
Yeah, okay, that's not a
No.
start. You cannot
No.
consider that a start. But look at Markram, another failure. I think he even bagged a pair,
Yeah.
right? He was out for duck in both occasions,
Yes.
both innings.
Yes.
And then in the first innings, I think everybody spoke about this. Everybody who has followed South African cricket, that Faf du Plessis batted way too low,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? So him and Quinton de Kock, resurrected the innings towards the end. But yeah, but in the end, it was too little, too late, I would say.
Right.
And yeah, and I also saw this guy Vernon Philander with the second new ball
Hmm.
in the India's first innings,
Right.
just before the day was called off due to bad light.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they took the second new ball promptly after 80 overs, and then when Philander was bowling at 180, 120 kilometers per hour, there was no energy from him,
Right.
right? And then I saw even Faf du Plessis urging Vernon to crank it up a bit, just to show some application, show some energy out there on the field. He looks very lethargic sometimes.
Right.
I don't know. He's probably switched off, I think, on that day. And then the other occasion, I saw Kagiso Rabada, yelling at Quinton de Kock,
Yeah.
and they had a verbal altercation on the field. It was quite funny. I think the Indian batsmen probably would have been amused to see that the teammates were fighting amongst each other, but not really a physical fight, but they were hurling abuses at each other, and that's not a good sign if you are a team, and you have to support each other when you're playing together as a team. So it's very strange that such a thing happened. They were also crumbling down. I think the Indian batsmen did really well.
Hmm.
They made South Africa sweat it out. They were really tired. I think physically and mentally they were drained.
Right.
So I mean, I think that basically shows you, and even like Temba Bavuma admitted so candidly in that interview,
Hmm. Hmm.
that the tailenders or the lower order batsmen, if you can call Keshav Maharaj and Philander that,
Right.
they showed how to bat on this pitch. So if the ball was 40 plus overs old, it became soft and it was much more difficult to get out basically. So you just had to apply yourself and stay that long, which is what all Indian batsmen did. Everybody got a start. They stayed long enough to convert that into a bigger innings, barring Rohit Sharma, right? So So they can learn a thing or two from this performance for sure. But anyway, I mean, the the other interesting fact here is that Kohli has 30 wins in 50 tests.
Right.
After this series victory,
Mhm.
what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, this is a very good point, for Kohli. He is right now. I think he's up there with the best, right? I mean,
Hmm.
we see on this list of captaincy, we see probably there are five other captains who have played more tests, of course, who have more wins than him, right? And the way he's going, and the way if he remains injury free, he has every chance of probably overtaking people like
Hmm.
Clive Lloyd, or even Steve Waugh, and maybe even Ricky Ponting, right, with the number of test wins. Of course, Graham Smith looks a bit tough because 53 wins, it's going to mean Kohli has to captain probably 80 tests, which looks a bit tough, but we don't know, right? It's still possible. And he has a win-loss ratio of 3, which is probably, there are very few captains with the same win-loss ratio, or better than him, right? There are a few
Hmm.
who with the same win-loss ratio, but only two people stand out who have better win-loss ratio than him. One is Steve Waugh, the other is Mike Brearley, right?
Hmm.
So Steve Waugh probably was the best when it comes to this sort of tactics and leading a team, getting the best out of the team. But Cole is not that sort of a captain, but he still has a very good team. So they say Ponting inherited this very good team from Waugh, therefore he has such a good record. But Kohli already built a team around him that is so good that he has a bunch of people who are really performing at their best. Look at
Hmm.
this fast bowling attack. Look at the spinners. I mean, I was tweeting earlier the other day saying that this is a rare Indian team because it has fangs both with spin and pace. And pacers are winning you matches on home conditions. That's very rare, right? When it comes to an
Hmm.
Indian team. So that's fantastic. I mean, previously we were reading, Shami took a second innings fifer in the last
Hmm.
test match. And before that, the last time an Indian fast bowler took a fifer in the fourth innings of a test was in 1996, which was Jawgal Srinath, right? So it was fantastic. So this shows how far and how well this team is performing. You have the top order batsman clicking and everything. So, if it goes well, maybe at the end of the first World Test Championship, we'll get to see how good Kohli is and how far he has come, because he would have 10 or 12 more tests to add to this. And maybe after 60 tests, he would become easily the most capped test captain, or the captain with the most number of matches captain. So he'll overtake Dhoni if he crosses 60. But then
Hmm.
that would be a good point to stop and then take stock again, because we are already acknowledging he has a win loss ratio of 3, which is very good. Maybe then he'll probably have a better one, and maybe he has a chance to go further from there, overtake the likes of Ponting, or even we'll see how that goes. So that's a very good thing for us to look forward to, and it also shows Kohli is a good leader when it comes to Test match cricket, and for
Yeah.
sure he's also a good. Let's say he's built a good team around him, and they know what to do. And when with the right kind of input, he's also able to take the right decisions in tests.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
his decision to enforce a follow on is a very good one. You
Yeah.
know, we do forget how many times he has done it. Can you tell me when was the last time India enforced a follow on, Giri?
I can't remember one from the recent past. Do you?
It's actually fairly recent. It was exactly a year ago, more or less to the week. It was the test match that started on October 4th of last year when India played West Indies at home. And
Okay.
the
Hmm.
time before that was when India played Afghanistan. This was not Kohli, but this was still India doing it. It was Rahane. I
Okay.
mean, in
Okay.
Afghanistan, it was a bit easy because they were bowled out in like a session and a bit. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but still, sensing that the opposition is down,
Yeah.
right? He was able to enforce the follow on, and look, they crumbled again. It was not
Hmm.
like they stonewalled for 2 days and made sure the
Yeah.
bowlers got so tired that they would underperform in the upcoming test, which is what usually you expect, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if you're losing a test match, you play long enough to make sure the opposition bowlers are really tired going into the
Yeah.
following test.
Yeah.
They couldn't
Yeah.
do that. They were bowled out around tea, right? So
Hmm.
that shows his ploy worked,
Yeah,
right?
Sanjay Manjrekar made a comment on air. I think he summed it up quite succinctly.
Mm,
He said
mm, mm.
Kohli enforcing the follow was more like a predator going for the jugular vein, going for the
Right.
kill, basically. So
Mm,
I think
mm.
it's even though his bowlers bowled 100 plus overs, because it was at
Right.
the end of the day, right? So on the end of
Mm,
third day,
mm,
so the bowlers got a night's rest, so they could come back. And then at some point in time, I managed to catch up with the match. Must have been this morning. In one of
mm.
the sessions, I saw the over rate. The over rate was amazingly 20 overs when India were bowling with two spinners.
Good God. Good God. All
20
right.
overs per hour. Can you imagine that?
Right.
Amazing. But anyway, but what do you think about the last test match? Who is coming in? Who is going out?
Well, I mean, if you were to look at those things, I think we have seen that Maharaj has been injured out because
Yeah,
he fell on his shoulder awkwardly,
yeah.
right? And I think he's tired bowling 50 overs each innings. So that could be the other
Oh,
thing.
poor guy.
And I think George Linda, the left arm orthodox spinner, will probably come into the team. And well, we don't know if this means Dane Pete comes back into the equation and maybe he plays with Muthuswamy, or
Mm,
maybe they go in with like for like replacement, just have Maharaj's replacement George Linda directly coming in. And
mm,
of course, there's also the possibility
mm,
that George Linda may take the place and Dane Pete may play ahead of Muthuswamy. All three options are possible.
mm,
We know that previously the last test match in Ranchi was a high scoring draw, but it
mm,
was a tough match
mm,
because I think Che Pujara really dug in and took a whole day out
mm,
almost by himself, sort of a situation. So I think this requires five bowlers. This looks like a five bowler pitch.
mm,
So I don't see really South Africa playing,
mhm,
four quicks, because I think I also read that Lungi Ngidi was injured. So I would
mm.
say it'll be two spinners, and my pick will be George Linda and Dane Pete and Muthuswamy to sit out, right?
No, that's a bit
Unless
harsh. That's a bit harsh.
it seems a bit harsh, but look, he didn't do much in this test match either
No,
with
but
the
he
ball.
batted well. He batted okay, Muthuswamy.
Yeah, I mean,
Then you have to drop Markram if you ask me.
Markram will get a bit longer run, but I think Theunis de Bruin may face the chop here,
Uh,
right? Hamza may come in.
okay.
Markram is sort of also earmarked as one of the people in the leadership group.
Mm,
So with that in mind, even though Theunis de Bruin made 30, he may have to sit out. It does seem a bit harsh on him. But either they will retain the same top order if they want to be a bit conservative, but if they want to go for a bit of a more radical change, probably Hamza will come into this lineup. This is definite.
mm.
And I would expect Theonis de Brown would be unlucky because both Temba Bavuma and Makram are sort of earmarked in the leadership group in the upcoming, let's say, years. Right?
Leadership group. I like that.
Yes,
Reminds
yes.
me of something. Yeah. Anyway.
All right,
Yeah.
right. So the other thing, look, you were saying something just to wrap that point up. Did
Yeah.
Graham Smith have anything to say about why Vernon Philander was not bowling very fast at the end of the first day?
Did I? Did I say something like that?
No, no, I'm asking. So did Graham Smith say anything
Did
about it?
Graham Smith? No.
Yes.
No. No, I don't know.
I think Graham Smith was the captain that set Vernon Philander up to be who he was, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And he felt occasionally you have to go give Vernon Philander a
Yeah.
kick up his backside. He sort of can be a bit, he can lose that energy or he can suddenly go into himself.
Yeah.
You need a captain who needs to go maybe say up something a bit energetic and something maybe even a bit harsh to him.
Yeah.
What happens is this can happen to all fast bowlers, knowing that the day is coming to an end and you have probably three good overs.
Mm.
Some bowlers will say, "Come on, I have 3 overs. I want to give my all, and maybe I'll
Mm.
take one wicket here, maybe two."
Yeah.
Some bowlers say, "You know what? Tomorrow morning, if I just get through tonight, the ball will still be new.
Yeah.
I can come in and do my best tomorrow morning." So Vernon Philander, it looks like maybe might be the latter. I might be reading the
Yeah.
situation wrong, but
N-
if the captain goes and gives him something in his ear, maybe he'll give you two or three good
mm,
overs, and maybe
yeah.
you get a wicket there. Just a point.
No, but on this occasion, it was not Faf talking to him directly. It was Faf telling Dean Elgar, who was fielding at mid-off, to have a word with Philander.
Right, right, right.
So it was not like that. And the other guy I can remember who needs a kick up his backside, Shannon Gabriel.
Oh,
Yeah,
right. Oh, yeah.
he's one of those the other guys.
I mean,
Uh,
with both Gabriel and Finlander, you'll want to be a bit careful. They're big people. They're big guys. He's called Big Vern for a reason. He might be appearing a bit short, but he looks solid. Same with Gabriel. Gabriel is also big.
yeah, yeah,
Now, whether you're older, you might get away with it, right?
yeah. Mm.
But I mean, hold to 6'8". But if I don't know if tomorrow if Temba Bavuma is the captain, I don't know how it will work. But yeah, we'll
Oh,
park that when those things happen, right?
yeah, right.
Going further, what is your prediction, Giri? So India will take the third test as well?
Yes, I think so. Unless it's going to be one of those dead pitches, like the one
Mhm.
we had last time around in Ranchi. I hope it's not going to be like that. I hope there is some life in it, and then both the batsmen and the bowlers have some role to play.
Mm.
But I think it's fully advantage India.
Of
India
course.
will pick it up. I think.
Now I expect South Africa to come hard, man. I expect they'll want to salvage something from this tour, not least the points on offer, right?
Yeah, yeah,
For the
yeah,
World Test Championship. So,
yeah.
only thing, do you see any change for the Indian cricket team? I sort of highlighted the changes from the South African team, but India, Kohli never keeps the same team, right?
Yeah, he can chop and change, of course, but I think we were talking about this offline as well. I think Umesh Yadav should be given another go. He doesn't get a
Hmm.
lot of chances, so he should be retained.
Right.
Shami should and will stay.
Right.
He's the he bowls so well with the old ball.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then the spinners will stay, Ashwin and Jadeja,
Right.
and maybe bring in another spinner. I'm
Hmm.
hoping they bring in a wrist spinner because I think
Right.
the wrist spinner can do a lot with an older ball than a finger spinner can. I know
Right.
you bowl leg spin, so I think you can relate to this probably. So with if the ball gets so soft after 40 overs, then the
Hmm.
wrist spinner can extract a bit more than the finger spinner. So maybe bring in somebody like Kuldeep.
So you say
What do you
Ishant
think?
will miss out, maybe.
Yeah, unfortunately, yes.
All right. I think this is a call they'll take on the morning of the test, and it does look like a five bowler pitch indeed. At least when I look
Hmm.
at what it was previously, but we got Pune
Hmm.
wrong completely. So I'd be very curious
Oh,
how
you
they
got
go.
Pune wrong. You got
Uh,
Pune wrong. I said Umesh
I
Yadav will play.
I got I got Pune wrong. Nicely pointed out. But yes, so in that case, I would wait and watch. Considering what Pune pitch
Uh,
did, maybe it'll also throw us a curveball, right? Let's
Come
see.
on, come on. Just spell it out.
I would
Let's
say
have it.
three. No, I would say three spinners and Ishan Sharma will sit out. This is my prediction.
Okay.
It's a five
Okay.
bowler pitch.
Okay. Okay.
Now we
Cool.
don't have Hardik Pandya. If Hardik Pandya were to play, you would get that balance. He's not there, right? Then you would trust
Uh,
your Jadeja and Ashwin to score your runs. So then it would
yeah.
be a five bowler
Or
pitch.
bring in Vijay Shankar.
Oh yeah. Well, out of the blue, out of wherever you call it. I don't know what he's doing these days. I think he's playing in the Vijay Hazare Trophy. So maybe,
Yeah.
yeah, give him a go.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Hey,
Yeah.
he's still 3D, right? Let's see. Let's see.
Oh yeah. Let's
Right.
not get there.
All
No.
right. Going further, the Indian women and South Africa women are continuing with the ongoing series, and now they're playing the ODI series, ODI leg of the series, if I may say. And two matches were played out, right? So, both of these were played in Vadodara, right, or Baroda. So, and it looks like an India leading 2-0 after two matches. So, in the first match, India were able to bowl first and restrict South Africa to 164, which they chased down with ease. And in the second match, South Africa again batted first, but they put up a much better score and they made 247. But in this case, India chased it down again with comfortable ease or relative ease, let me put it like that. And in this case, it came as a bit of a surprise that this is the highest total chase by the Indian women's team. The 248 that they made to win the second ODI is the highest chase that they have achieved. So it's a nicely done thing. And Harmanpreet Kaur, who came with a little bit of more than a ball situation, made sure with her T20 skills that it was not going to be a problem. That's nice to see that. In the women's cricket, the gap between Australia and the rest is quite wide. So the other teams have to do a lot to catch up. So it's good to see this Indian team doing well, that they're
Mm.
able to pick up this difference, right? All right. Going further, the third match of the Pakistan versus Sri Lanka T20 was played in the last week as well. It was played on 9th, and this took a unexpected turn. So previously, I think expressed at least a hope that Pakistan will be able to come back and win, so that they give the series 2-1. But Sri Lanka really played well. They played out of their skins, and they were able to win the third one as well. So
Mm.
for the first time since 2000, any team was able to take a whitewash series out of Pakistan, right? So this was the first time since 2000, and Sri Lanka, this so-called the less strong Sri Lanka team, was able to do that. So Oshada Fernando was given a debut, and this guy is somewhat special. He also did something special with his test match debut, if I'm not wrong.
Mm.
So he scored a very, very tough 78 out of 48, right? And then they were only able to come to 147, which is not a very challenging score in T20 these days, but they bowled really, really well. So even though they lost a wicket very soon, Fakhar Zaman was dismissed very soon by Kasun Rajita, I think. In fact, the very first ball of the innings. But then Babar Azam and Sohail steadied the ship, but then they let the run rate creep up past them. And by the time Babar Azam was dismissed, and then Haris Sohail and Sarfraz Ahmed and a couple of other batsmen really couldn't make it to the end. So they failed by about 13 runs. So this came as a bit of a surprise as well. So Sri Lanka took the series 3-0. And interestingly, Gunatilaka was asked upon landing in Colombo whether they were happy, and he said, "Yeah, don't call us the Sri Lanka A team anymore, or the
Mm.
less strong Sri Lanka team. We beat the world champions or the number one team in T20s 3-0, right? So give us the credit." So that was nicely said of him as well. So I think there are some tough questions Pakistan will have to answer leading up to the T20 World Cup in 2020 in Australia. So they'll look to sort it out. Going further, so if you look at some of the news from outside the cricketing field, right, there are some interesting shenanigans going on in BCCI. So first of all, the Tamil Nadu Cricket Association, Maharashtra Cricket Association, and Haryana's Cricket
Mhm.
Association has been banned from participating in the BCCI elections because of one technical reason or the other. But following that, just in the heels of that, is a very big breaking news has come up, Giri. Just in the last hour or so, Giri. What is the news?
Well, Dada will become the new BCCI president, if I read it right. So, Saurav Ganguly,
Indeed.
the current
Hmm.
Bengal Cricket Association chairman, is going to become the BCCI president. That's a big news, right? I mean, I think
Indeed. Indeed.
maybe hours before this, there was an announcement made that Brijesh Patel would actually be the BCCI president, and now it's been reversed, it's been
Hmm.
changed, and Ganguly has been, yeah, touted in as his replacement or as the new president. So I don't know what's going on over there, but it's a big announcement, and wow, that's yeah, I'm spellbound. I don't have words to describe what has happened.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, if you were to just look at it in black and white and not look at the bigger picture, so to say, it's a good thing, right? Somebody who's always had a good leadership role within Indian cricket is also touted to be the next
Mm,
BCCA chief. Ganguly is a good standing in international community, cricket community. All this is very
mm,
nice, right? So it's probably you see machinations behind the scene to sort of keep the N Srinivasan group, lobby group
mm,
outside. So Brijesh Patel was backed by N Srinivasan. So he's been left out in the cold. And Ganguly, who's backed by Jagmohan Dalmia, the, uh, the erstwhile
mm.
chairman and
Heavyweight, yeah,
now who's no more, right? Heavyweight, Mr. Jagmohan Dalmia. Ganguly was his pick, and rightly he was picked him, right? So it looks like all the other people have thrown their weight behind this camp. So it's be it Amit Shah's son Jai Shah or Dhumal, who was the brother of Anurag Thakur. All of these people, they have thrown their weight behind Ganguly, and so he's gotten enough of
mm,
clout now to take over as the BCCI chairman. Look, our president. So the only thing that concerns me a little is, has it come a bit too early in his political career, in the political cricketing career, so to say, Giri, for Ganguly?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think he
Hmm.
is well within his right, and I think he's fully qualified. Of course, there is a learning curve as well,
Right.
and he has been the captain of Indian
Hmm.
team, right? He's a captain of a cricket team, an international cricket team, like you've always said to me off air. He's like a diplomat.
Hmm.
He knows how to handle
Right.
people, so he's a good people manager, and he knows how to, you know, handle things when there are issues. And he's also been Cricket Association Bengal chairman. He has been working as a mentor. He knows how to work with people and people in administration. So he's a good choice, if you ask me. Um, so 47, he probably has more energy than the other people. Of course, maybe less experience. Maybe he had to spend a few more years in the lower rung, maybe. But I think he has enough, let's say, acumen to decorate this position and do well in this new role.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, and talking about Brijesh Patel, I think Brijesh Patel might actually become the chairman of IPL. So I think that could be his new role instead of the BCCI presidency. Yeah.
So it's been given as a consolation prize, possibly. Yeah.
Oh, nobody likes that. Anyway.
We wish Ganguly, indeed, if he were to be the next PCCI chairman, we really wish him all the best.
Oh,
And going further, he's able to bring the same refreshing change that he brought to the Indian captaincy, the
yeah.
changes that Indian team were able to undergo. I hope he does the same for the administration,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So let's see how that unfolds in the upcoming weeks.
Yeah.
And going further, Anil Kumble has been appointed as the Kings 11 Punjab coach, head coach,
Mm,
right? Almost like a director of cricket, as far as I'm concerned.
mm.
Did you see this news, Giri?
Yeah. Only read it on Cricket Info, but yeah, they've changed their coach every year in the last 5 years, and the highest
Yeah,
they have
yeah.
finished on the table was fifth, and that was under Virendra Sehwag, right?
Well,
Um,
sometimes the Jamaican approach helps, right? Jamaican approach, you know what that is? The Jamaican approach to managership.
no.
Wait it out, the problem will go away. Well, I mean,
Uh,
no, I mean it's a very simplistic way of saying that. It's about rearranging your priorities and making sure you do everything that is important for you,
mm,
and whatever else that is not important for you will organize itself until the next important thing comes to you. That's how it's supposed to be taken as.
mhm,
But
mhm,
anyway, the thing is, I see one thing here. Kumble taking over will. He's a more process oriented person, right?
mm,
So we might not see the results directly in the first season, but I would really love to see it. But maybe this means a change for the team going further, and we might see the changes in the 2 or 3 seasons even. I
mm,
mean, I'm going to sound a bit outlandish probably, but this Indian team is sort of reaping many benefits. The Indian team, the Indian national team, that he set up many things in play and in motion, and now we are seeing the benefit of all of that. At least I would like to say,
mm.
right? So maybe this is how you can look at it. And if he should be given a longer run, and of course, I think there were also a couple of weeks we heard these rumors that Ashwin's contract might be bought out by Delhi Capitals from Kings 11 Punjab, right? So
Mm,
I think Kings 11 Punjab were not happy with Ashwin's captaincy and they were thinking of not making him the captain from next season and so on, right?
mm, mm, mm.
Some of these things might be revisited, some of these decisions might be revisited, given that Kumbre brings a different mindset and a different thought process. So I'm very curious to see how that unfolds,
Yeah,
right?
headmaster. That's some
Strict
people
one.
call it. Yeah, it's a very strict one. Yeah, I know.
A bit strict one. All right. But look, he has proven pedigree both as a player and I'm thinking also as a coach. We'll see how
Yeah,
that goes.
but I think
Right?
the other thing is I heard something that I think it must have been Brad Hodge. He
Hmm.
says IPL, coaching tenures are very difficult or very stressful, and if you don't bring the results that they would like to see, then they're yeah you immediately fired basically. So it's you have to bring the results in, otherwise you're fired. And I hope that
Yeah,
Kumble
yeah, yeah.
gets a longer run, right? I mean, this can happen that after one season he's sent home because the results didn't match the expectations. But anyway, let's see what happens there.
Look, it's we see this in footballing teams across the Premier Leagues in the world everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So the owners are a bit more ruthless because it's run as a business, not as a just as a sporting team, right?
Mm.
It's more than a sporting team. It's a sporting team and a business. So in
Yeah.
this case, if anybody, Kumble has a stature to probably ask some of those people to take it easy for a little bit of time. So
Mm.
maybe it might benefit, that he might get a longer run. Let's see,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
Going further, well, the future of Zimbabwe cricket is going to be decided in one of the upcoming ICC meetings. There's a meeting in the upcoming week, if I'm not wrong. And if you remember, Zimbabwe's cricket administration had been suspended by the government, and ICC had suspended Zimbabwe cricket because of that. We know as a result, they are now not going to be able to play in the qualifiers in end of October for the T20, and Nigeria have taken their place, right? And whether they'll be a part of ICC and whether the funding from ICC will come through, all of these things are important things that are at stake as far as Zimbabwe cricket is concerned. They have claimed they have brought back the entire board and so on and so on. So whether ICC will heed to it and whether they'll go their own way, it's going to be curious. But I really hope, if anything, they're still given the chance to go ahead rather than being shunned or rather than being taken away from ICC. I'm really hoping, in spite of whatever the conditions they are, I really hope they continue to be a part of international cricket and they get to show their cricketing skills, right? Going further, Natalie Sciver and Catherine Brunt, the two English women cricketers, have announced an engagement. So we wish them congratulations and all the best going forward, because this is the third such high profile couple, right? So we know that Marizan Kaap and I think Dane van Niekerk from South Africa is one, and then New Zealand's Amy Satterthwaite and Leah Tuhu. These three will be the, let's say, role models to the LGBTQ community out there. Also, they are very good sporting role models. So it's a very nice thing to see all of these things coming through, right? Another small thing, Cricket Australia has announced a 12-month paid leave policy for the women cricketers, and also with a support plan for men cricketers or
Mhm.
other spouses who will be not really pregnant but who can support. So this is very nice. So 3 weeks of partner support and 12 months of paid leave for the actual person who's pregnant. So that's great.
Mhm.
Great. So this
Mhm.
is more of corporate culture and more of modern day acceptance of how things should be done being also brought into cricket and cricket let's say planning. So that's fantastic to see, and I hope other boards can learn from it and take it forward. right? Going forward, we saw that Barbados Tridents yesterday night clinched the CPL 2019 under the leadership of Jason Holder, and Guyana, who are really doing so well, who had won 11 matches in a row, coming into the final, losing out again to be the bridesmaids. This sort of, I must say, broke my heart.
Hmm.
So I don't know if you saw this match, Giri. Were you able to catch it? I know
No,
it was in
no,
the midnight,
no.
maybe.
Unfortunately,
Okay.
not. I had other things to do.
No, I mean, of
Like
course, like
sleep, yeah.
sleep, I can
Yeah.
imagine, right? But in this case, this was a rare match where it's a team coming off 11 match winning streak. You really hope they're able to convert it, that they're able to dig deep and win. Unfortunately, they weren't. And on that day, the Barbados team was so strong. And they showed why. They showed why they were deserving to win. They once or twice stumbled while setting up a chase, but they always recovered and they came to a total that was daunting enough that they fell about 20 odd runs short, Guyana, in the end. And that was well done to Barbados. And I think good luck to Guyana going forward. Again, in the next year, they come back and they try,
Mhm.
right? The last piece of news that we would like to quickly discuss, of course, is did you see Mitch Marsh, the South African all rounder, Australian all rounder, is trying his best to emulate Ben Stokes? Have you seen
Well,
this, Giri?
I wasn't there in the dressing room when this happened. So apparently he tried,
Ah, right, right.
breaking down a wall with his bare hands, right? So, and he injured his hand
Mm-hmm.
after a Sheffield Shield match, right?
Right.
So, or during a
Mm-hmm.
Sheffield Shield match. So, so he's probably too frustrated and wants to be in the reckoning for the next series that Australia play, probably against Pakistan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who do Australia play? I think,
Right.
yeah,
Yes,
at
indeed.
home, right? So he wants to be in the reckoning and he wants to make a contribution leading up to that, so that he's considered for the team. Probably putting
Mm-hmm.
too much pressure on himself and emulating Ben Stokes in a different way, right? Also,
Right.
probably vis-a-vis. I think Ben Stokes also had a similar issue in the past, right? So, and I've heard of people, break their bats like Quinton de Kock did.
Mm-hmm.
Must have been his 100th
Right.
ODI, I think, last year or earlier this year when he got out and then he broke his bat. So this happens, sometimes, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he needs to address this in a different way. Maybe cool it a bit, do something else like practice boxing.
Well, I mean that would be a good idea. That would be a good idea to take out some of the heat. But I think he used the wrong part of his anatomy. I heard he has a very big head. He's called Buffalo or
Oh, no,
something,
no,
right?
no,
That's his
hippo, I
nickname.
think.
Hippo? No. I think it's Buffalo because I think he has a very big and a very strong head, as they say.
Okay.
He should have just charged the wall,
Oh,
and that could have solved most of the issues. But I mean, even knocked some sense into him. I mean, I'm going to sound a bit callous when I say that there is concussion injury, and we are dealing with the aftermath of those things. It's not a joke, but he could be the exception. After all, he has such a strong head, right,
yeah, I
Giri?
think so. Okay.
Well, I mean, never mind, never mind. But we really hope he recovers soon, and if anything, he's lost an opportunity to take the next 15 days or 1 month or whatever it will cost him in injury time to actually impress the selectors and be on the starting 11 for the Pakistan tests. I think he just missed out an
Mm,
opportunity, but these things happen in the heat of the moment, and it's unfortunate. But yeah, let's see,
mm,
right? And well, now let's go on to the trivia section. So the trivia question from the last episode was, who's the only Indian to be outstumped twice in a test, right? And also I had sort of mentioned it'll be nice to see how often this has happened in tests overall, right? So Yogesh has answered both the questions. So the right answer is your Rohit Sharma. The first test versus South Africa, he was stumped twice, right? And so far, there have been 22 instances of this happening. So it's Rohit Sharma was the 22nd instance, and of course, the first Indian, right, to whom this happened.
mhm,
There are some very prestigious names here. Monkey Hornby. If you look at this list, there's Wally Hammond, there is Huey Tayfield, there's Frank Worrell, right? Bert Sutcliffe, Jeffrey Dujon, some very big names on this list to have been stumped twice in a test. So Rohit Sharma joins a very august list, I might add. But of course, he has comfortably the highest total on this list. So the sum total of runs he has made, 303 before he be getting out stumped twice, is comfortably the highest. So there he has done really well. So the trivia question for this episode is: what is the highest score by an Indian captain batting in tests? Right. If you have been following the events very closely recently, I think you know the answer. So do write into us. You could write into us using social media platforms like Twitter at armchair.cricket or using our Facebook page, or you could write into us at armchair.cricket@gmail.com. You could also write into us not only with the trivia answer but also with any thoughts you may have. You could also get in touch with us on Twitter during a match. Mostly we are on there and with some banter and stuff, right? It'll be very nice. It will always encourage us. No matter which platform you're using to listen to us, try to take a moment to give us a 5-star rating. It's very useful for us and it's also very encouraging, right? There's plenty of tests and plenty of, now the southern hemisphere cricketing season is kicking off. The Indian domestic season is kicking off. Pakistan's domestic season is ongoing, and of course the last test between India and South Africa. To look forward to plenty of things to discuss for us in the upcoming episode. So I really hope you guys are going to be tuned in, right? Having said all that, it's a goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from him. Bye bye. You're listening to the Armchair Cricket Podcast.